He shot her because she was queer. He shot her because she was queer. You can see so clearly. I didn't think that it was like that before, but when you see the footage, he shot her because she was queer. And you voted for this!
Over the weekend, a lot of people's narratives about Renee Good getting shot by this ICE agent fell apart because instead of just sitting back and waiting for all these different angles to come out, people were more focused on seeing one, maybe two, maybe even three, and crafting a story about this precious woman who was dropping off their child to school and was trying to go to work. And on their way to work, they saw those evil ICE agents and decided, nah, I don't care about the money. I want to make sure that I could potentially protect the area that I live in, the area that has favored me and treated me like a human being. I want to try to protect them by trying to stop an ICE patrol poorly because cars still go by her. And when you see the angle from somebody's perspective out in the distance who shows that this woman is sitting in the middle of the road, you tend to see a lot of people's narrative fall apart, that this person was just trying to go to work or trying to go home or trying to drop somebody off. It all falls apart.
Happened in Minnesota was a straight up murder, in my opinion. And it's awful. This lady was probably trying to go home and she didn't make it home, and that's really sad. So the whole ICE thing it's a travesty. It's clearly, to me, we're attacking brown people, and I just happen to be brown.
And my take on it is that a lot of people are in the wrong spot at the wrong time, and that ends up with this woman dead. She's trying to be a hero, trying to save illegal immigrants, trying to save a bunch of people by sitting in the middle of the road. She thinks that she's doing a good job. She thinks that she's the hero. Whole time, she's fucking annoying. ICE agents see this and start walking up to it, driving up to it because they're off in the distance. And while that's going on, you got an officer walking around the car, presumably to get to get the license plate to deal with this at a later time, and is getting told off by the woman and by her wife while the dog is sitting in the back seat. And at that point in time, he ends up in front of the car. And at the same time, you got ICE agents telling this woman to get the fuck out of the car because, why? She's sitting there stopping traffic from going in, and she's the reason why these people cannot do their jobs. Whether if you like their jobs or not, they're there to fucking do them, and really, not a lot of people could do a fucking thing about it. Even with the governor saying, get the fuck out, they're probably still there, and they're probably still doing their jobs. And as that's going on, she sees these officers trying to pull on her door handle, and she's thinking, let me back up and get away from these motherfuckers. And at that same time, you got the wife on the other side of the car yelling, drive, baby, drive. And I've seen people go about drive, baby, drive in two different ways. Drive, baby, drive as in flee the scene, or drive, baby, drive as to run that motherfucker in front of the car over. And unfortunately, that guy who was in front of the car almost got ran completely the fuck over. And in his mind, in a split second, he's thinking, oh my God, this is the second time I've sat here and almost gotten dragged by a fucking vehicle. Let's not have this be the second time. Bing, bing, bing. And now this woman is dead. A lot of people in the wrong spots at the wrong time. And ultimately, the fault of it falls on the woman for trying to be the hero, stopping people from doing their job, and it leads to her being dead. Should she be dead? No. Her choices did get her here, though, and it can't be ignored when people are trying to craft a different story about her just trying to go home.
You cannot convince me that Renee Good's murder was not a lesbophobic hate crime. A lot of us are talking right now about the very blatant misogynistic elements of this situation, but I feel like we are not talking enough about the lesbophobic elements of it, because misogyny is an intrinsic part of lesbophobia, and I do think the fact that they were a queer couple plays a huge factor in the situation and plays a huge factor in why this man decided to target them. From the body cam footage, it is very clear to me that this man identified that he was arguing with a lesbian couple and that they were not complying with his demands, and he decided to hurt them for it, which is how so many lesbophobic hate crimes play out. Something we saw in this body cam footage that happens so often in lesbophobic hate crimes is a lesbian couple, and particularly a masculine lesbian, standing up to the homophobic man. When I saw him arguing with Renee's visibly masculine presenting partner, that is when I was certain that this man knew that they were a couple and wanted to hurt them for that reason. There's a specific type of vitriol that comes from a man who feels so insecure and emasculated and threatened in the presence of women who he knows are gay. I feel like the lesbophobia is just so clear and so obvious here, despite how much the media wants to minimize that Renee even had a wife at all. I think that this is such an important element in this, and it is my belief that if this situation happened to a gay male couple, people would immediately be able to recognize more than they are right now. They'd be able to recognize, oh yeah, this was homophobia. Oh yeah, homophobia is probably a factor. But because it's women, people are kind of just ignoring that and just kind of brushing that element under the rug when we just can't let that happen. We can't let that happen because this is just an example of so many situations like it, and this is just what happens when you give the type of men doing these things immunity. That's what happens when you give them immunity.
The weird framing and storytelling set up by a bunch of people who didn't really care. They just wanted to have a viral moment so that they could be perceived as like this great all-knowing activist. Yet when more information comes out, they don't want to speak about that because it cripples whatever great 5-minute segment that they had on their TikTok or Twitter page. It's all falling apart to where now you're going to have to hope, if it gets to this point, a conversation about what could go on in potential court. And there's a lot there for the ICE officer to say, hey, feared for my life. I have a history of dealing with things like this. I'm not being able to do my job because this woman is sitting there in the middle of the street trying to slow us down. They already have a lot of tense animosity towards ICE agents. I'm in fear that I, in this split second, am about to get run over by a car because as this woman is trying to potentially flee the scene, I'm in front of the car after trying to document what I need to make sure that I could file a potential report for somebody obstructing my job, and I nearly die for it. I'm thinking it's time to defend myself. I shoot her. He goes scot-free, and nobody's able to do anything about it. And that's the likelihood of what has gone on based around all these different angles that have come out that make him out to be the victim in the scenario. And a lot of whining is going to ensue from people who desperately want it to be something else. And I'm sorry, it ain't gonna go like that because we have different angles that help craft the story around annoying leftists trying to be the hero and ultimately getting bullets to her fucking body and no longer being on this earth. And the only person that I could feel sorry for is the son, because he doesn't have a mother and a father in this world anymore, and that's probably a scary thing to have to grow up and deal with.
So here's what we know as undisputed fact. The 37-year-old Minnesotan Renee Good was obstructing law enforcement and interfering with ICE agents while they were trying to perform their official duties. That's illegal. Then she defied a lawful order by an officer. That's also illegal. Then she decided to operate her car with reckless disregard for the safety of the officers around her. That's also illegal. And despite what the radical left is trying to say, she hit him with her car. The media didn't show you this one, did they? Now, to say that officer is a murderer is a blatant lie. And to say that she was 100% trying to hit that officer is also a lie. We don't know her intent, but what will be put into question, and the only thing that matters, is how that officer felt in the moment. Who just months ago was dragged behind a vehicle driven by an illegal immigrant who was fleeing a traffic stop, after which the officer had injuries to his legs and had to get 30 stitches. Plus, I'll note here that there have been more than 100 vehicular ramming incidents targeting ICE agents in the last year. The National Review makes a great point. Undoubtedly, if it is reasonable to interpret the woman's action as a deliberate attempt to hit an ICE agent with a speeding vehicle, the use of force was justified. But even if the woman was mainly trying to get away, she was engaged in an actionable assault on a federal officer, a felony under Section 111 of the Federal Penal Code. To constitute an assault, there does not have to be battery, which is unlawful contact. But in this instance, if the assault or intimidation was carried out with a deadly or dangerous weapon, like a car, the penalty is up to 20 years jail time. That's a big-time federal offense. So even if you think she was just trying to get away, she did so by swiping the car in the agent's direction. She might not have intended to hit him, but she sure did not appear to be trying to avoid running him over, if that was necessary to escape. Either way, the agent's life was jeopardized and the responsive use of force would be justified. The Fourth Amendment says a police officer may use deadly force against a fleeing suspect if he has a good faith belief that the suspect poses a significant threat of death or serious physical injury to the officer or others. It looks to every sane person in America that the driver was in the act of committing a dangerous assault when the agent opened fire. The driver's reckless operation of the vehicle, coupled with the fact that she was showing little care of harming armed law enforcement agents as they were carrying out their official duties, supports that it was reasonable to believe she posed a serious threat to the agents and others. Legality aside, federal agents are there to carry out a deportation operation, taking illegal criminals out of our country. That's exactly what the president was reelected to do. ICE is there to do a job. Irrationally putting yourself in harm's way while obstructing an enforcement operation is one of the dumbest things you could do. No matter how you think you feel about this situation that I pray no one else will ever have to be in, no law enforcement officer is under an obligation to potentially let himself be run over by a vehicle, period. And last note, the leaders in Minnesota are some of the most pathetic people I've ever seen. His job is to enforce the law. Obstructing the law is what causes distress and chaos. People are loud, things are gonna get ugly. Know your facts.
You don't know what the fuck you talking about. You just saying shit because you want to grift. This is not the first time we've seen a story go viral based upon limited information. More comes out that destroys any narrative set up by people who don't care. They just want to pretend like they care in order to gain traction online. And then those same people are nowhere to be found once more information comes out. And they take all of this new information to potential court or just leave it to the public's opinion to see that whatever was said that went viral is a lie. And then everybody moves on to the next thing. Excuse me for being on this earth for 26 years and spotting this numerous times. I've been able to see it and recognize it and understand how this game goes. So if you were one of the people that was hooting and hollering, making sure that you could loudly say ICE agent bad, there's video angles that make you out to seem a little slow, but who knows? Time could potentially be in your favor, and if this goes to court, maybe the benefit of a jury could put somebody in jail for the longest of times. But as it stands right now, there is a set of examples that prove this man could walk out and it being justified. In about a week, maybe even 2, you're going to drop the story and move on to the next thing because you tried to make it about one set of circumstances, but video evidence that seemingly came out every single day changed the story into something else. And now you have nothing to do in regards to the story. So you'll move on to the next thing in the hopes that that could be your smoking gun in proving that you are a credible activist in making sure that everybody remains safe while you continue to promote things that could get somebody potentially fucked up, yelled at, shot, or killed. Congratulations, you played yourself again. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I will see you all in the next one. Remember, even if you feel as though you might be right about something, just wait a little bit, because it's more important to wait and be right than to be first and potentially be wrong. Mwah! Bye-bye.